Okay, here we go with another kind of a mixed bag of a trip. It started out reasonably well when we got up to the upper part of the Taylor River above the reservoir there. Sue and I are heading down to the stream right now. It was running a little bit high. I would say maybe 20 to 30 cubes over normal, which allowed more of the big fish to stay out where we could find them. Fishing up here was quite decent. The first fish out you're going to see a picture of here is a darn dandy brown trout. They get out in that current, and as you'll hear shortly, they have created some problems once they do. But this one fortunately stopped before taking off like a steelhead downstream because I couldn't chase him anyway. But it's a really beautiful brown trout. I was using a stimulator on top and trailing a little bit of a antenna pupa behind it. This one took the stimulator, but the two that followed took the trailing fly that was a nymph. So this one's coming in. He's a beautiful fish, at least 16, maybe 17, maybe 18, but just an awfully nice brown trout. It's unusual to catch a fish of this size in this part of the stream, but with the greater flows, it just did happen this time. The next fish were real problems. Hooked a couple of dandies again. One of them you'll see come out of the water shortly, right there. Beautiful leap. He took off with my 4X tippet. The one that followed that one did exactly the same thing. I finally shifted to a 3X tippet, and the dog's giving me the fish eye because I didn't take good care of that stuff earlier. So here we're putting the rod back in the car, and we're going to head down to the campground just below or just above the reservoir itself. This is a rod rack I built and put inside the van. It's a pretty simple process. It uses coat hangers for hooks, and it works great. The water near the campground area is a little shallower and a little quieter and a little wider. Again, using the same kind of flies down here, I did catch a couple little fish and then headed up along the bank to try to find something in this still water near the bank itself. Got up to a nice little run that has kind of an eddy on one side and an eddy on the right side, and hooked and landed a nice brown trout out of here. It's another about a 16-inch brown. Then got over on the right side of this and happily hooked a decent sized rainbow down deep. He took the antenna pupa again, and I was happy to get him up and off the hook as well. So the fishing in this part of the stream was darn good, and I wish we hadn't left it, to be perfectly honest. We had a couple sandwiches for lunch in the campground, and then headed down to the base of the dam. And I wanted to do a little fishing for those monsters that lay there, but there were so many folks around, it was not worth doing. We went further downstream and did have a little bit of success on the main river above Almont, but it wasn't great there either. So, with the time being about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we decided to head for camp. We're driving up this very interesting Jeep road, and believe me, it is one. There was a Subaru parked down at the bottom. We ran into the fella up on top when we finally got up to our campsite. He said he was afraid to drive the road with a four-wheel drive car. We've just got a two-wheel drive commercial van, and it seems to work fine on this stuff. We have a fairly narrow footprint, which seems to work better. We made it to our campsite without any issues. You can see over in the far horizon there's a smoke plume drifting across the valley. Apparently, the fire was about 14 miles away. If you look up, way up the valley here, you'll see that notch up there. That's Crested Butte. The next day, we got up and had breakfast and headed up over Kibler Pass. Took a quick turn off at Lost Lake, which looked like it might have been a good stillwater fishing destination. But when you look at the grass, the marsh grasses around the lake, I know we'd have to be waist deep in that stuff. So we kept going over the pass, went to Erickson Springs campground. Nobody was there, so I hiked up about a mile up the into the wilderness area in the dark canyon and didn't have much success at all. It was tough fishing. Even you'll see the water going over the bridge. You just can't walk up the bank and cast from many places anymore. Water's going to have to drop a bit before this is a good fishable area. After that, we pretty much called it good. We were going to go to Marble and do some fishing on the upper Crystal, but the place where we normally fish is off limits now. So we cut it out And after getting some thunderstorm warnings on our phones, we gave up the rest of the fishing trip and headed back home.